Well, good evening, Pacific Northwest Key Club advisors. My name is Brian Egger. I have the pleasure of serving as your district administrator for PNW Key Club. I want to start off this evening by thanking you for taking time out of your busy schedules, especially as we kick off the fall to be with us tonight. We hope that you find the information informative and that you have an opportunity to have all of your questions answered so that you can be best positioned to support your key clubs this fall. To kick off our discussion tonight, I want to introduce our district governor, Isabella Baldessari from Division 70, Woodburn High School. Isabella may be familiar to many of you, as Isabella previously served as the Division 70 Lieutenant Governor and was very active in last year's district project committee. And so with that, I'm going to formally turn over the program to Isabella, who will introduce herself more thoroughly to all of you.
Thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be on here with all of you tonight. Thank you, just to echo Brian, for your attendance. We really appreciate how committed you are to PNW Key Club. And as a student, I'm very grateful for the efforts you make to serve your Key Clubbers. We all appreciate it. That said, I want to introduce myself. My role is to support lieutenant governors in leading their divisions. This includes remote divisions, and it includes one-on-one support and evaluations. I'm also responsible for distributing information and resources to the lieutenant governors. This can include updates in my biweekly email updates, which we will go over how to sign up for those later on in the presentation. This also includes monthly LTG executive newsletters and equipping them with the resources they need, along with the rest of my executive committee, so that they can complete their tasks. And I liaise to district committees. That includes District Project Committee, which, as Brian mentioned, I had the honor and privilege of serving on last year. And then I also liaise the Decon Committee. And I'm excited for Decon 2025, which we'll be talking a little bit more about in this presentation. And I'm from Woodburn High School in Oregon. And again, I'm immediate past LTG of Division 70 Key Club. And my personal hobbies include reading, as well as spending time with my friends, my family, and my Yorkie dog, Brody. So thank you so much, Brian. I'll pass it back to you for an introduction.
Thanks, Isabella. Again, good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Egger. Hopefully, you've had the opportunity to at least receive an email from me since you engaged with Key Club as an advisor. For those of you that maybe haven't had the opportunity to work with me before, I have been serving as the Key Club District Administrator since May of 2015. So Isabella is the 10th district governor and district board that I will have had the pleasure of working with since my appointment as administrator by Pacific Northwest Kiwanis. Prior to being appointed as district administrator for PNW Key Club, I did serve as a Key Club lieutenant governor for Division 65 in Beaverton, Oregon. Was a graduate of actually Westview High School in the Beaverton School District. And then went on to serve Circle K International, which is Kiwanis's collegiate program, as both the district and international officer, and then eventually joined Kiwanis in 2007. I am currently a member of the Greater Seattle Kiwanis Club and also a member of Kiwanis International's Youth Programs Board, and will begin serving as the vice chair of the Youth Programs Board as of October 1st. For many of you that don't know, my position is unpaid. I serve as a volunteer, just like Isabella and every other adult leader that you may encounter in the Pacific Northwest District. My professional life includes serving the U.S. Government Accountability Office as a senior analyst, where I conduct investigation and evaluations of federal programs, including those funded by the U.S. Department of Education. In my spare time, I enjoy my Aussie Doodle Louie, running, reading, traveling, and checking out the latest restaurants in Seattle. So hopefully that provides you a little bit more information about me in addition to my role in Key Club and supporting our nearly 300 clubs and 12,000 members. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Isabella for her governor update.
Thank you, Brian. So, first off, I want to talk a little bit about what our current goals are for PNW Key Club. I've worked really hard along with my executive committee to make these goals as concise as possible for both the Board of Lieutenant Governors, Kiwanians, as well as advisors. So our goals are based off of our standing committees. So for Kiwanis Family, our goal for Key Clubs is to host at least one joint service project per Key Club again. So for each Key Club, we want them to connect with their local Kiwanis Club and do a service project together. And we have many resources that I'll talk about later on that can support you in doing this. For Membership Growth and Retention Committee, or just membership growth in general, we want to see 12,000 members and 285 or more active clubs. That's our goal for the 24-25 service year. For PNWAF, we want to see at least 40 applicants, which, given how structured PNWAF is and the PNWAF committee itself, chaired by our district treasurer, Jeffrey Basilio, is very well structured and is going to be a great resource for your clubs. So please, 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 we really think that 40 applicants is more than achievable. Or easily achievable, excuse me. And then for district project, we want to see 11,000 service hours and $2,200 fundraised for the district project. And that has to be sent directly to PNW Key Club so we can distribute it to our service partners, which I'll talk a little bit more later on tonight. And then for DCON, our goal is 1,400 attendees. And then talking about what our current district status is for membership, we see more than 280 active clubs, 11,430 dues paid members, and over 35 LTGs, which is great. We're in a great place, and I think that we can continue moving toward our goals for membership with your support and the support of our Kiwanis and Key Clubbers. So now let's talk a little bit about District Project. If you don't know, our District Project is the SEED initiative ending youth houselessness. According to the Secretary reports, which are our only way of accounting for service hours and funds donated towards the District Project, as of August 2024, we see 5,085 hours recorded. Our clubs keep on serving our communities as the school year continues. And for local volunteer opportunities, they tend to reach out to local organizations, and they're sponsoring Kiwanis Club. But as I just said, our goal is 11,000 service hours. So being at the 5,000 mark is not ideal, but we believe that we can get to 11,000 again with your support. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about the resources we have available to you to reach this goal. But this is where we're at currently. So that said, what is the district project? What can you do to learn more about it? So like I said, this year's district project is the SEED initiative ending youth houselessness. A district project just means that the governor, who is responsible for selecting one high impact service project, picks this for the district to pursue. This might seem a little bit familiar if you were an advisor last year, as this is the second consecutive year of the SEED initiative. Therefore, our goal is to elevate our resources and build on the foundation set under Immediate Past District Project Committee. So hopefully you can support us in that as we work to elevate and leverage our resources. And then moving on to why we picked houselessness. Statistically, youth houselessness affects marginalized communities the most. LGBTQIA plus youth experience a 120% higher risk of becoming houseless after coming out. BIPOC youth have an 83% increased risk of becoming houseless compared to their white counterparts. And it's also an equitable project. So youth houselessness is a widespread issue throughout the PNW. So there are many ways and places to volunteer. It really doesn't have to depend on your location. Houselessness is both rural and urban. So again, no matter the geographical location of your area or your club, you can get involved in this movement and make a difference in your community. So we're gonna get into the details of that. So starting with support, and this is gonna tell you what SEED stands for. So the S stands for support, and as advisors, you can support the district project by spreading the word. We really need you to share this initiative with your Kiwanis clubs and Key clubs, encourage them to become a part of the movement. And please make sure to highlight the many resources available to all participants, mainly our DP toolkit. This is a kit of resources to help you find local organizations to volunteer at. It includes fundraiser ideas, as well as a short video introduction to the district project. And this toolkit is constantly being updated by our district project committee this year as we work to update and keep the resources relevant to this year. So please help us share this to key clubbers and get them involved in this movement. The next letter of SEED is empower. So as advisors, you can empower the district project by aiding clubs in evaluating community needs. This is really, really important because as high schoolers, we don't have I think generally speaking, enough knowledge of the communities around us to really truly evaluate the need. And so if you can aid your clubs in evaluating that, whether that's talking to people you know that can be a support system or helping them reach out to local organizations to better inform you of, again, the community need, that's really, really helpful. And that ties into the next bullet point of connecting clubs with resources and people. We really need your help as key clubbers. Again, we struggle to have those connections in the communities, and I believe Brian will talk a little bit about this later on. But as it relates to the district project, reaching out to local organizations can sometimes seem intimidating, or key clubbers might not know where to look. So we really need you to aid them in that and kind of empower them to take the initiative and evaluate community need. Moving on to the third letter in the SEED acronym, it stands for ACT. So as advisors, you can act in the same way that key clubbers and Kiwanians can act. So obviously service, encourage a joint service project with the local Kiwanis club. As I was talking about earlier, how I was going to go into resources we have available to you if you're interested in helping us meet that goal of one joint service project per key club, please reference our joint service project guide and other Kiwanis family resources on our website, pnwkeyclub.org. This is constantly being worked on by the KFAM committee, who is chaired by Addison Wooster. Very, very well done, and I encourage you to take a look at the Joint Service Project Guide. In addition to service, you can obviously fundraise for the ACT portion of the SEED initiative. So consider holding a fundraiser for one of our partner organizations. Our partner organizations, by the way, this is all information available to you once again on our website, but that includes Youth Care, Homemade, and Covenant House. Now, let's talk a little bit about the D in SEED. That stands for destigmatize. So as advisors, you can destigmatize houselessness by educating yourself and others. It is important to understand that marginalized communities are disproportionately affected by houselessness. As you saw earlier on, I talked a little bit about the statistics. We recommend that you do something similar or encourage your club officers to talk a little bit about something similar to those statistics to help educate themselves and others. And then help us reject stigma surrounding houselessness. So if you hear students conversing with other students about the district project and using terms that might support stigma surrounding houselessness or that are just plain unkind, please help us reject that in the way you see necessary. And also that includes language. So you might have noticed that I keep saying houselessness when most of us are probably most familiar with the term homelessness. This is a more inclusive term to not strip individuals experiencing houselessness of the word home, as home doesn't necessarily mean a roof over your head. Home can be people, home can be any other thing, but we don't want to strip that away from those individuals as they are houseless instead of homeless. It's just more inclusive and a kind of way of saying what we know as homelessness. So thank you for your attention to the district project. And if you have any other questions, you can always talk to me after this call at our designated Q&A time. So now I want to transition into talking about ICON, or International Convention. So ICON 2024, we had over 20 PNW Key Club attendees. If you or a local Kiwanis club helped support a Key Clubber in attending ICON 2024, on behalf of that individual, I sincerely thank you. And it was in Atlanta, Georgia this year. We visited the World of Coca-Cola, the National Museum of Human and Civil Rights, and Mary Mac's Tea Room. So we enjoyed Southern hospitality, as well as got to educate ourselves on the history of America at the National Museum of Human and Civil Rights. And as you can see from the photos, there was lots of Key Club elections and politics, if you will, but also the beautiful city of Atlanta, and just some fun time with Key Clubbers and our wonderful adults. So ICON 2025 will be in Orlando, Florida, July 2nd through 6th, 2025. Please help us get the word out to Key Clubbers and help them start fundraising for that now. As you can see again in the photos, it's a beautiful experience, and I think generally speaking, everyone has a great time, and it's really worth fundraising for. So let me know if you have questions about that. And then I'm going to transition into talking about DCON 2025. So this will be March 28th through the 30th in Seattle, Washington. Again, our goal is 1,400 attendees from more than 130 clubs. And Sheraton Grand Seattle is where it's going to be held. All attendees under one roof, which is great. And again, some of these decisions are made by DCON committee. Some of these decisions are made with our adult committee like Brian. And it's always given decisions based off of feedback. And then all sessions at hotel with the exception of the general sessions, which will be held at the Seattle Convention Center across the street. So it's just a short walk. And then most meals will be included. And then for DCON 2025 again, ample food options near the hotel for Saturday dinner, which is the heart of Pike Street. If you don't know, that's a very great street to find food and find other entertainment. So it's going to be easy for you guys to find that Saturday night dinner. And then Mega Caucus will be split into 2 sessions based on feedback. Again, we have feedback forms, which are really important each year and which the DCON committee takes into great consideration. And then registration opens October 1st, 2024. So please, it's coming up. Be prepared. Start fundraising now. And then more than 38 workshops will be offered, 4 keynote speakers. A quad is $340 for students per room, and a double is $450, which is 2 adults per room. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about divisional resources. We have many divisional resources available to advisors, some of which include divisional Google groups, which our LTGs are responsible for making. And then we also do monthly Lieutenant Governor newsletters, which I talked a little bit about in the beginning of this presentation, but we equip our Lieutenant Governors with the necessary resources they need to publish monthly Lieutenant Governor newsletters available on the 10th of each month. We also equip them with the resources they need to complete President's Council meetings, or PCMs. This is where they meet either in person or over Zoom with their presidents in order to give updates, and in turn receive updates from those presidents and converse with them. And then divisional council meetings, which most of you might be more familiar with, or otherwise known as DCMs, are when an entire division, both advisors and Key Clubbers, as well as Kiwanians, are invited to attend a service project with the Lieutenant Governor. And now I'm going to pass it along to Brian for his administrator updates.
Thanks, Isabella. So I wanted to kick off my remarks tonight by just providing some context and grounding you in the impact that Key Club is currently having throughout the globe. As you know, Key Club exists in North America in 33 districts. districts and in several other countries. And so this survey data was gathered during the 2023-2024 school year. And so first point I wanted to highlight is that 94% of our members agree that Key Club is fulfilling its mission. And therefore feel that the organization is serving a purpose that is greater than the efforts of one individual or one high school, in that service is being provided globally through the Key Club vehicle. 98% of our members are recommending Key Clubbers to their friends, which means they are actively recruiting other students in their high school to be a member of Key Club, presumably because of the impact that it is having in their school from their perspective, or because of their belief that the mission of Key Club is being fulfilled as a result of membership. 92% of Key Clubbers also agree that Key Club offers a variety of leadership positions that help members build skills and also are consistent with their interest. 94% of Key Clubbers also feel safe at Key Club events, going back to our youth protection policies and procedures for those of you that are not brand new to the organization. So at least from the survey respondents in this particular survey, students do feel that Key Club is a safe space for them to be a part of and that they have resources when in need. And then finally, 92% of the respondents also believe Key Club had a positive impact on the overall high school experience. So hopefully in looking at these statistics, it is reaffirming your belief that your service to Key Club matters, or perhaps if you're brand new, gives you a sense of what might be in store for you and the impact that your service may have for students through membership. In addition to tonight's webinar and some of the resources that Isabella has already discussed and that we will be discussing later in the program, I wanted to highlight that there will be there are 2 advisor webinars that will be held on September 30th and October 7th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern. These webinars are being hosted by the Key Club International staff in Indianapolis. For those of you that don't know, the professional organization that serves Key Club in all districts and all nations resides in Indianapolis, Indiana. And these webinars are specifically being facilitated by the Key Club International Director, Matt Ellis, and several other experts that supports Key Club on a daily basis. Topics that will be discussed during the evening include advisor one-on-one training, recruitment resources, the Global Leadership Certificate Program, and many other programs that operate at the international level. For your convenience, again, the advisor webinars are being held twice, but please note that the same content will be covered at each webinar. So please register for the webinar that is most convenient for you. In addition to advisor training resources and webinars like tonight, I did want to highlight our youth protection policies. I kind of touched on that also when I mentioned the statistic about 94% of our Key Clubbers feeling safe at Key Club events. This is specifically, in my opinion, the result of our youth protection policies and procedures. And just as a reminder, to summarize those at a very high level on the screen here, I've highlighted those components that I think are the most meaningful in ensuring students have a positive experience. Probably the one that most advisors are familiar with are the youth protection Presidium courses that are required for attendance at any district or international event, but are also available to any advisor, as well as our background checks. If you're interested in learning more about Kiwanis's youth protection policies and the role that you play as an advisor, you can visit kiwanis.org/youth protection and find a plethora of resources available in this area. To help spotlight youth protection and the role that advisors play, youth protection is designated as a week each service year. This year, Youth Protection Week will occur October 7th through the 11th, 2024. And it will be an opportunity for advisors to receive additional resources about how they can better employ the youth protection policies and procedures, but also have an opportunity to network with other advisors about how youth protection is being fulfilled in their community and also share other best practices. As part of that, there will be a webinar held on October 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. This is a great opportunity if you're a Kiwanis advisor for members of your Kiwanis Club to attend and to also be able to ask questions directly of the Youth Protection Team in Indianapolis, Indiana. I also want to highlight, in addition to the youth protection policies and procedures, a little bit of information about mental health and how Key Club is addressing mental health through the Key Club experience. I think at this point, most adults that are actively working with students understand that there has been an unprecedented increase in ER visits as a result of mental health crises, and that more than 1 in 3 high school students have experienced persistent sadness or hopelessness in 2019, and that was a 40% increase since 2019. And finally, more than 1 in 6 youth reported making a suicide attempt, which was also a 44% increase since 2009. So I guess the question is, these are very startling statistics and very sad statistics, but what is being done to help address this, and how is Key Club trying to play a part in the front line to assist students that are in crisis? Well, for some of you that are brand new to Key Club, this may not be an organization you are familiar with, but if this is your second year in Key Club, or you've served for several years, hopefully you're familiar with Erica's Lighthouse, one of Key Club's news partners, which is specifically designed to help students and advisors access mental health resources. In fact, right now, there is a campaign going on, which you may have seen spotlighted on the Key Club International social media pages, or even locally on divisional pages, called Give Hope. And Give Hope is a campaign to help people overcome those feelings of helplessness and sadness, and to be able to spotlight positive things going on in their school, in community, or in their lives, with the goal of trying to combat mental health crises. So if you haven't had an opportunity, I would highly encourage you to check out some of the resources that Erica's Lighthouse can offer you in your Key Club and your school more globally. All of those resources are free, and there is a dedicated staff at Erica's Lighthouse that can also provide assistance to you about how to use those resources, or how you can create campaigns that will help build positive mental health in your school. I know one of the main reasons why many advisors attended tonight was to get a sense of some of the key resources that are available to you as you attempt to assist your club officers in starting the Key Club year. And so I wanted to, again, reiterate the upcoming webinars that are being sponsored by Key Club International, and also remind you that there will be webinars throughout the school year offered by PNW Key Club. Some that are open to both students and advisors, and then others like tonight that are specifically designed for advisors. We call those our advisor town halls. In addition, I would encourage you to visit keyclub.org. When I send out the slides, these links are embedded in these slides, so you'll be able to access this information quickly. But each officer position, including the advisor position, has a dedicated officer guide or advisor guide that provides a number of resources and calendars and tips to help you have a successful year. Some of the students and some of us like to refer to this as advisor one-on-one training. All of these handbooks provide the most important information for you to help you be successful in your role, and to also be able to help your students be successful in the role that they are serving in. In addition to the officer guidebooks, I want to highlight our meeting toolkits. And the meeting toolkits actually provide basically a meeting in a bag, if you will, and that the meeting toolkit contains all the resources that you need to be able to execute a Key Club meeting in your school, including specific scripts, instructions, links, and other information that would be helpful to you. So if you haven't seen the meeting toolkits, I would encourage you to visit keyclub.org and see the ones that are available to you, including the back to school meeting toolkits. So I wanted to end before we go into our Q&A tonight with some sort of key advice And what are the key things that I would suggest that any new advisor, even an experienced advisor, try to do in their role. And for me, I think advisor advice can be summed up as community, continuity, and connections. And so what do we mean by community? Well, an advisor is probably the only person that is going to be able to be the most effective in helping your students identify needs in their community and providing vehicles for students to address those needs based on their interest. The district project is a great way to start if you're not sure where to begin in your school or in your community, and that houselessness affects all communities across the region. But of course, there's many other causes and many other needs that you may be able to assist your students in addressing through the work of their Key Club. The next, continuity. Continuity is designed to be a reminder that the advisor is the only position that remains year to year in Key Club. Most students will only serve in an officer position for 1 year, especially at the district level. And at the club level, if you're lucky, they may serve 2 years or perhaps 3. But generally, the advisor is the only person that remains for multiple years and has the knowledge and has the experience to ensure the students have the most impactful experience possible and are also be able to overcome challenges facing the club. And then finally, connections. Advisors are best suited to be able to help connect their students to resources and to people, be it within the organization, including other Key Clubs, but also outside of the organization through service partnerships or even to the sponsoring Kiwanis Club that supports your Key Club. So again, I wanted to highlight again the links on here for those of you that wanted to pull out your phones now or can't wait to access the information. Here are the links to those toolkits, to the officer guides, and then the Global Leadership Certificate courses for those of you looking for some curricula or leadership content for students that want to focus on personal development or leadership skills while serving as an officer or even as a general member. So Isabel, I'm going to pass it back to you to talk a little bit about some of the district resources.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Brian. So, we have many resources available to you as advisors, one of which is actually our Instagram, which is just PNW Key Club on Instagram. You can find quick posts by our district editor, Tessa Hill, which contain concise information about events going on, including due season and PNWAF and upcoming webinars, things like that. And then obviously we have our PNW Key Club website, which is probably the most filled resource we have for you. It has everything that you might need. So before looking anywhere else, we really recommend that you go through the PNW Key Club website and search thoroughly for any resources you might be looking for. We almost guarantee that it will have it. And then, of course, we have our biweekly updates, which I'm going to talk a little bit more on using the next slide about how you can subscribe to those. So biweekly updates, you can subscribe to those using pnwkeyclub.org, our website. You can scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, fill in the requested information, which is really just your name and email address. And then you just click subscribe and you are automatically subscribed and you'll receive these biweekly email updates by me. And they have information about advisor town halls like such as this. We have voice campaign, as Brian touched on. I have information about that included in biweeklies, as well as Key Club International updates and things of that nature. So please go to our PNW Key Club website and click or fill in the information and click subscribe in order to get those biweekly updates. And those are the resources we have for you. So I believe we'll transition into open floor discussion.
Isabella, before we do that, I do want to just acknowledge some of the other folks tonight on the call from the PNW Key Club District Board first.
Yes.
We were very lucky to have our other 3 executive officers with us tonight. I want to acknowledge May, Jeffrey, and Tessa, who serve as our secretary and editor and treasurer. So you may have seen those students also on the call tonight, but they were here to support and offer any technical assistance with questions or anything else that came up tonight. And finally, but certainly not least, I also want to acknowledge the other Kiwanians and adults that work with Key Club on a day-to-day basis at the district level by supporting the executive officers and the lieutenant governors. And so what I'd ask is for all the area administrators to please put their name and the divisions that they support in the chat. So that folks know who you are. I know that I saw Angela Brule. I know that I saw Patty Downey. I know that I saw Tracy McDonald. I just want to make sure, given that there's like 60 people on the call, Alan Eckersley, I see you here. Justin England, you're here. All of these folks, though, are individuals, again, that support PNW Key Club at the district level, volunteer their time to provide mentorship and assistance to our student lieutenant governors, and also remain a valuable resource just to you at the local level. And so if you're not familiar with who your AA is, as we call it for short, please go ahead and DM me in the chat or simply ask in the chat and we can point you to the adult that is here to assist you. I see the AAs right now putting their information in the chat, so thank you very much. And with that, as Isabella said, we will transition to an open floor for any questions that you may have about the content we covered tonight or anything else Key Club related. You are welcome to unmute or you are welcome to type the question in the chat if easier, depending upon your environment. So the first question, it looks like Jody Boyd from Rogers High School said that she is a new advisor and she is looking for resources on officer inductions and earning cords for graduation through Key Club. So Jody, one of the meeting toolkits actually does provide officer installation scripts. Essentially, we call those officer installation ceremonies. So if you visit keyclub.org and visit the meeting toolkit section, or just generally search for officer induction ceremonies, you will be able to find a script that you can use to guide your officer induction. Always remember that your Key Club Lieutenant Governor is available to assist you and actually can serve as the master of ceremonies, if you will, for officer inductions and can help with the installation of your officers. Again, if you're unsure of who your Lieutenant Governor is or what your division number is, place it in the chat and we'll be happy to provide that information for you, or you can always email Isabella or myself, governor@pnwkeyclub.org from Isabella, or administrator@pnwkeyclub.org for me, and we'll be happy to assist you. In terms of the honor cords for graduation, Key Club International does not have any set criteria for who is awarded honor cords, but does make them available through the Key Club store. We advise each Key Club to determine the minimum number of service hours that must be provided for a cord to be awarded. But given the variation and given the requirements of memberships that so many of our clubs have, it would be very hard for us to provide a universal standard for all clubs to follow. I think, Jody, I answered your question. I just saw thank you, so I'm glad that did answer your question. So the floor is open for our next question. No questions. Any questions about the due? Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
I have a question. This is Maricel. I'm actually from District Advisor for Liberty High School, District 28 here in Renton, Washington. Because our students are always excited about Beacon, and our transportation, Issaquah School District Transportation had told us that they are not allowing overnight trips for more than 50 miles from Seattle. So that means like on this upcoming Beacon, basically kids have to go back home if they're going to be allowing it. Like they have to go home every night. Will Key Club allow that? Or, I mean, just for transparency, I haven't, I just read the email, so I haven't really reached out to our school district. for exception, but what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, thank you, Marisol. That's a great question. Actually, I think some of your colleagues, if you will, that are also advisors in Sammamish have already emailed the district about that. So PNW Key Club, in the interest of protecting all of our students, actually does not permit day registrations. In my 10 years of experience, day registrations have led to contraband being introduced to the convention by students that are coming to and from the convention and are not residing at the convention for the duration of the event. And then also given the scheduling of the event, in that the event goes until 11:30 or 12:30, actually, if you want to be technical about it, both nights. It is not advisable or safe for students to be transporting themselves or being picked up and traveling at those hours, especially since the program resumes at 8 a.m. the next day. And so for those reasons, we do not allow day registrations, and we advise school districts to begin working with their administration now to seek exceptions. I can say definitively that to date, PNW Key Club has never granted anyone an exception from this policy, and that is what has allowed us, at least in my tenure, to not have any instances of any students violating the code of conduct or safety incidents that have resulted in any sort of loss. So I hope that answers your question. We remain available to assist you in working with your superintendent's office to seek an exemption to the policy, or perhaps if you remind them that this has been PNW Key Club's policy for decades, maybe that will also make it easier for them to provide an exception.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I have a question about that. You said it was transportation. So is that just the bus they won't allow? Because maybe
No,
like,
it's
okay,
they basically, it's not only transportation. It's not only the bus. It's actually like the kids had to. I know they even said like even DECA. So that means that DECA would have to go to their competition, come home, go back again the following day. So yeah, that's that's a challenge that we're facing. And I just brought it up to my because we got like the biggest, we had a membership award last year. And so, and then we also even have like one of our students even received a scholarship through you guys. And it will be, and they were also even saying like, oh, it's a 75th year anniversary of Deacon. So they were like, oh, a little bummed about this one. But again, I haven't communicated with the district yet, but I'm glad, Brian, that you got to hear from our colleagues. And yeah, it will be, I mean, do you think you can go and you can send us an email about my question?
Yeah, I'm happy to send out something, and I'll try to get that out this week. As far as I know, for what it's worth, Sammamish has actually already agreed to provide an exception to their policy. So I think that once school districts hear that other school districts in the Seattle area are providing exceptions to the policy, I have a feeling that other school districts are gonna have to relent and acknowledge that it's
Okay.
actually in student safety to not allow commuting from the event.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. So I think someone had a question in the chat about the slides. So the slides will be sent out to the faculty and advisor Google groups after tonight's call. So presumably you are in those groups because you had the link for tonight's meeting. If for some reason you don't receive the slides when they're sent, then please email me or Isabella and we can make them available to you. I think Sally Poland, did you have your hand raised at one point?
I did. I have a question. This is coming up to be a big year for the Anacortes Key Club. 100th anniversary, I think. And I was wondering if you could guide me to information about the charter date and other information, the history of the Key Club in Anacortes?
So I don't personally have archived information on each Key Club. What I can do is I can give you the charter date, and I can certainly maybe identify some folks. Maybe you've already been communicating within the Anacortes Club. Dave McMillan, for example, would be an individual that probably would be able to help with identifying some of the milestones for the club. And I can also certainly try to see if I have anything in my personal archives that may be helpful to you, but unfortunately, we don't maintain sort of individual club history.
Okay. So, but you could tell me the charter date.
Of course,
Uh-huh.
of course.
Awesome.
And I don't know, Sally, did you already try to talk to Dave or?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And I'm actually
perfect.
going to the Anacortes History Museum. And they keep, I guess the Anacortes Key Club has done scrapbooks through the years that they have all archived, and you can get pictures of them. So I'm getting those, but I just needed history from the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly see too, we can certainly put you in touch with one of the Key Club specialists in Indianapolis, and it's possible that once you give them the key number and the charter date, they might be able to also search their record. So
Okay.
if you can email me after this meeting at some point, and I will add it to my queue to
Thank
get you that information.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Ida had a question in the chat. I would like to know more about the transportation, train or bus. Is train free for members? So Ida, you are from Division 44, which is based in Clark County, Washington, Vancouver. So yes, the train would be free for students traveling to Seattle, Washington through the Amtrak Youth Fair program. I previously did email all advisors with this information. For those of you that didn't see that email or maybe are unfamiliar with the program, basically through federal and state grants, the state of Washington is now making it free for anyone under the age of 18 to travel within the state of Washington on Amtrak. This would apply, of course, to Seattle for DCON. So you would want to make sure that you are booking the youth fair through the Amtrak group reservations department. And just remember that adults will need to accompany your students on Amtrak. We advise schools to follow the DCON ratio of 1 adult for every 10 students. So I hope that answers that question. The next question looks like it came in from Natalina. The Woodland School District is just beginning our club this year, and I just became the advisor last week. I was kindly forwarded this meeting from Patty, but wondering if I can join the group to get emails. So Natalina, if you can email administrator@pnwkeyclub.org or work with Patty and we can get you added to the faculty advisor Google. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, please, Jody.
So this is Jody again. So for DCON, what is the guidelines, or does Key Club have a pricing that's going to be for students who identify as other genders? So I'm not mixing gender students. I asked my school district for direction on this, but I've not been given an answer. So I just want to know, because it said, you know, quads was the price for the 4 students and then 2 adults. But is there an option and pricing for students who we will need to put in their own rooms?
So yes, we defer to the school policies and guidelines as it relates to rooming. So in other words, if a student, because of gender identity or other issues, wish to purchase a single registration and therefore have a single room, we would not prohibit that. Of course, that student would need to be chaperoned just like students that are in a quad room. In terms of gender identity, we rely on the school when they submit their registration to ensure that students are being roomed in accordance with the gender that they identify with and any other school policies that may exist related to gender identity. As many of you know that have come to DCON before, we do not do roommate assignments on behalf of schools, with the exception of members of the district board who we have responsibility for. But does that answer the question, Jody?
I'm just wondering, my biggest concern is for like the pricing because, if we have 4 kids in a room and the price is $340, and then I have, let's say I have 3 kids that all need their own rooms, the cost, is a lot more for our club. And then we have the students that we have to take care of that may not be paying for themselves according to the new House bill, the district has to pay for, or Key Club has to pay for. So my concern is just making sure that I'm not excluding any students from being able to go, but also having the funding available. And so when we look at the pricing for the rooms, is there going to be a pricing option for those individuals, or am I going to have to pay like the $340 for a quad room for one student, or are there going to be additional options available?
So it might be good for us to chat after the call, Jody, or via email, but essentially we have a roommate finder so that you can make sure that everyone, to the extent possible, is able to room in accordance with their gender identity, assuming your school allows you to share with students from other schools. So in other words, a student that is currently from a Key Club that only has 2 students that identify as male, but are willing to room with 2 other students that identify as male, the roommate finder then would allow you to do that to make sure that you're receiving the lowest cost for their participation. If there is an issue of reasonable accommodation as it relates to gender identity, disability, or some other sort of issue, then we would need to work that out on an individual basis, and happy to consult with you on that as needed.
Thank you.
I saw in the chat, Jason from Inglemore was mentioning the FlixBus. The trains are fun, but FlixBus was cheaper. So just to clarify, there is no cost under the Washington Youth Fair program for students to take Amtrak. The only cost would be for the adults that are serving as chaperones. So again, the Washington Youth Fair program through Amtrak is free for any person under the age of 18. Unlike FlixBus, where a fare would apply. If you prefer to take FlixBus because you do not wish to take Amtrak, or you have other considerations, you're welcome to do that. But I just wanted to highlight that again. Any other questions? I know we're getting toward the top of the hour and I want to make sure that we're mindful of everyone's time, but did want to check in and see if there were other questions.
I have a question, Brian.
Yes, Bill.
I'd very much like to hear more, find out more in the future about the Joint Service Project. I'd like to be able to involve our Key Club in it, and we're going to have a large number of students this year. We went from 14 last year. I think we have at least 50 that seem to be interested in Key Club this year. So it's going to be a big year. And it sounds like a wonderful project and a great opportunity to involve them in it. And we'd like to have more opportunities for our Key Club to do something with this project.
Brian, do you mind if I take this question? Yeah. Okay. So thanks for your question. I think for the joint service projects, I love to hear that you're interested in that. I think generally speaking, Key Clubbers and Kiwanians alike really enjoy getting together and doing service. So as I mentioned previously, we do have resources available on our website that are also linked on this slideshow that will be shared with you afterwards. But that includes the Joint Service Project Guide, which has it's just a comprehensive guide on what you can do with key clubbers and how you can get together and do service. You can either encourage key clubbers to take the initiative and plan the service project, or if you're coming from a Kiwanis perspective, the Kiwanis Club is welcome to organize, or of course it can be a joint effort. But the idea is that they get together at a mutual location and serve either under the district project, the SEED initiative. So this could be at a food bank or volunteering at a shelter, or if it's not under the district project, that's also fine. You can do any local initiative that is service oriented. Does that answer your question?
Well, yes, sort of. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm thinking this would be a great thing to bring up at DCON, and it's something that we really need to get our lieutenant governor involved with.
Yeah, absolutely. And the board has been informed of our goals regarding Kiwanis Family and Joint Service projects. So hopefully your lieutenant governor is informed and getting on that. But if you'd like to chat at some point, you can always email me and I can communicate that to your lieutenant governor directly. So hopefully we can get that happening in your local area soon.
Great,
And
thank you.
I would just add, Isabella, too, that Bill, if you're not currently receiving the biweekly emails, as Isabella said, please subscribe to those so that you can make sure you're receiving the resources related to joint service project planning. And then, of course, I think Isabella said this, but the Kiwanis Family Relations Committee is actually in the process of hosting a separate webinar, and joint projects will be discussed as part of that webinar. So be on the lookout for that, and hopefully that can be a resource to you as well.
I will. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here today and to be able to participate in this webinar.
We're happy to have you.
Well, we got at least 1 more minute left for any other questions that anyone has that are burning. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank you for attending tonight's September Advisor Town Hall. We will be doing another town hall later this school year. So be on the lookout for information about the next town hall. We will use, again, doodle poll to identify a time that works for the majority of the advisors that wish to participate. I want to wish you the best of luck in the fall and with the kickoff of your Key Club this year, and know that myself and the entire adult team is always here to assist you. Isabella, would you like to provide any closing remarks?
Yes, absolutely. I won't take up too much of your time. I know it's getting late, but just to echo Brian, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope that this was an informative presentation and that you can take this along to your Key Clubbers. If you have any further questions, please don't feel shy to reach out to either myself or Brian via email. We're really happy to have you all here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.